The bicycle is one of the greatest inventions ever. It is extremely fast, simple to use, and fueled only by the power of your own legs. It is an invention that has truly changed the way we live. It's no wonder billions of people across the globe have fallen in love with it. But how did it actually come about? Where did this brilliant invention come from? Well, let's find out. When it comes to the bicycle, we tend to think there was a single eureka moment when everything just sort of came together perfectly. In reality, it was more of a step-by-step process with several key individuals contributing to the development of this remarkable invention. The earliest version of the bicycle didn't even look like one. In fact, it was more of a scooter. In 1817, a German civil servant and inventor from Mannheim named Karl Drais created the Laufmaschine, otherwise known as the running machine. He built this two-wheeled vehicle as a solution to a serious horse shortage. Drais figured if he could build something that would enable him to keep moving without relying on horses, he could cover long distances with minimal effort. His creation consisted of two large wooden wheels connected by a hollow tube and had a seat attached to the top. Riders would start by walking alongside the machine, pushing it along, until they gathered enough momentum to continue gliding. Steerability was accomplished by leaning. This may sound simple, and that's because it was. And despite its initial success, the Laufmaschine had several drawbacks. It had no pedals or chain drive system, which meant that every trip started and stopped with a run. After a few false starts, this two-wheeler was eventually banned from the streets of Paris, and the project was abandoned. But this was just the beginning. Fast forward about 4 decades, and the groundwork was laid for a machine that resembled our modern concept of a bicycle. In 1860, a French metalworker named Pierre Michaud saw an opportunity to capitalize on the popularity of horse-drawn carriages by manufacturing a vehicle that would mimic their movement but be silent. Pierre teamed up with his son Ernest, and together they designed a unique contraption featuring 2 wheels and a seat fixed onto the larger front wheel. The key innovation was the inclusion of cranks with foot straps attached to the axle, which allowed riders to push off the ground. They dubbed their invention the velocipede. The problem was it was incredibly uncomfortable. Early models were constructed with heavy iron frames, a solid rubber seat, and steel rims. Those brave enough to ride experienced bone-jarring journeys that often resulted in serious injuries. By 1869, authorities had become so concerned about the safety of these wild velocipedes that they outlawed their use throughout much of Europe. But the perseverance of Pierre and his son paid off. In 1870, the Starley brothers, James and John Kemp, took notice of the velocipede and identified how they could make it both safer and more effective. In fact, their improvements were so significant that the velocipede was effectively reborn as the high wheeler or penny farthing. These bikes boasted enormous front wheels, which could reach diameters of up to 5 feet. Riders assumed a low position to maintain stability, sitting atop a small rear seat. Despite this new design, the same basic mechanics as the original velocipede remained. The high-wheel bicycle was an instant hit with the British public. Within months of release, tens of thousands had been sold across London. While the Starley brothers deserve much of the credit, another pivotal figure played a crucial role in advancing this technology. English engineer Thomas McCall introduced the idea of rear-wheel drive, a system still used in most bikes today. Without these advancements, the bicycle might have remained a novelty toy for the rich rather than evolving into a reliable mode of transportation. At the height of its popularity, the penny farthing dominated European and North American streets. But it was also the catalyst for a major shift in bicycle design. driven in part by growing concern over the number of horrific accidents occurring on the roadways. The most common danger involved overturning when a rider applying the brakes would slam headfirst into the pavement. Victims of these mishaps weren't always wearing helmets, and sadly, severe head trauma was a frequent outcome. Yet others crashed simply because they lost control after leaning too sharply or traveling too quickly over rough terrain. In addition to the safety hazards, the penny farthing was also impractical for some. At 5 feet tall, its towering stature was difficult for shorter individuals to manage, while its lack of shock absorption made navigating bumpy surfaces particularly uncomfortable. These issues prompted a new wave of experimentation, leading to a pivotal moment in bicycle history. In 1885, John Kemp Starley unveiled his radical concept, a two-wheeled vehicle equipped with 2 identical wheels and a seat positioned between them. This design introduced the notion of gravity braking, where the rider could bring the bike to a halt by shifting their weight towards the rear wheel, causing it to slow down and ultimately come to a standstill. Additionally, by placing the seat between the wheels, Starley ensured that any fall would land the rider on softer cushioning rather than the unforgiving pavement. But the benefits extended beyond just safety. His new bicycle was easier to maneuver, making it more appealing to a broader audience, including women. This seemingly minor modification would lay the foundation for the modern bicycle we know today. One of the final steps in the evolution of the modern bicycle was the invention of the pneumatic tire. This innovation provided a smooth, comfortable ride while absorbing shocks from bumps and holes in the road. In 1888, Irish inventor John Boyd Dunlop set out to create a tire that would solve the harsh realities of cycling. At the time, solid tires made from wood or metal were standard, but they were heavy and noisy, damaging both the road surface and the rider's body. Dunlop wanted to improve the quality of his son's tricycle, which was equipped with solid rubber tires. His experiments led him to wrap canvas tape around an inner tube and fill it with air. This breakthrough innovation marked a significant departure from the industry norm, and soon became renowned for its ability to absorb road shocks. Dunlop's pneumatic tires revolutionized the cycling experience, transforming the journey from a jarring adventure into a smoother, more enjoyable ride. Their introduction coincided with the invention of ball bearings, which allowed the wheels to rotate smoothly on spindles. When combined with pneumatic tires, ball bearings enabled bicycles to roll easily, making riding effortless and exciting. With the advent of safer, more practical designs like the Rover Safety Bicycle, cycling surged in popularity. The 1890s witnessed a cycling boom, especially among men. In fact, VESA gave rise to the term velocipedes are for boys due to the perceived tomboyish nature of girls who dared to ride. By the end of the century, over 10 million bicycles were owned in the U.S. alone, sparking a flurry of bicycle-related industries such as tire companies, repair shops, and sporting clubs. Manufacturers churned out millions of bikes annually, catering to the masses with models like the Rover Safety Bicycle. However, the early 20th century would see the rise of the automobile, which posed a serious threat to the bicycle's dominance. The combination of an economic downturn in the 1930s and the emergence of affordable automobiles led to a decline in cycling's popularity. Unfortunately, World War II dealt a significant blow to the bicycle industry as resources were diverted toward the war effort and bike production slowed dramatically. Consequently, the post-war era witnessed a renewed interest in personal motor vehicles, and the bicycle found itself further overshadowed. But as oil prices skyrocketed in the 1970s, bicycles became a viable alternative to costly fuel, especially in Europe. Environmental concerns also contributed to the shift in perception, making the bicycle a more attractive option. Moreover, cycling emerged as a form of exercise as the fitness movement gained momentum. In the United States, an estimated 20 million people regularly cycled for leisure or utility, driving a 150% increase in bike sales by the year 2000. The e-bike revolution has continued into the 21st century with innovative designs, direct-to-consumer brands, and advanced technologies. But some fear that the allure of electric bikes may overshadow the intrinsic joy of traditional cycling. While e-bikes offer convenience, especially for longer journeys, purists argue that they detract from the physical and mental benefits of regular cycling. Regardless, e-bikes have opened the door for a wider demographic to enjoy cycling with features like pedal assist and throttle controls, making it